This is a video on how to remove the door skin on my Wanderlodge LX40. I have to do it because the door handle has always been loose. I've tried to repair it a couple of times, but this time I'm going to do a more thorough job and actually put some new pieces of aluminum in, rivet them in, and then use some riv nuts to hold it down. All the previous holes have all stripped out and it just keeps coming loose, and the quick fixes haven't been working. So I've already removed, forgot about doing the video of it, but I've already removed the window blind, the strap cover for the wires that go into the door lock, deadbolt, and the handle itself. And I have just finished actually taking off all the screws for the inside window frame, and you can see it's loose now, and I have held it in place for now with some bungee straps just so that the outside window doesn't fall out. So here's what it looks like on the inside of the door. I wasn't able to take video or photos while I was doing it, but the straps that I had holding the window in at the top, I've had to tighten them up a little bit, but I basically just use the wrecking bar, and initially I had to also use that long piece of wood that I carved the end down just so it could reach farther into the door. But at this point, so many of the Christmas tree fasteners are broken or stripped that it doesn't really hold on to well, and I was able to remove it quite easily. I only had to pop a couple of them, but the wrecking bar and the piece of wood works pretty good. Just have to be careful if you're doing it for the first time and just ease your way into it. I have done this probably 5 times now, so hopefully this will be won't be the last time, because I have plans to replace all these, and I'm gonna redo the front door, the material on the cover. But anyway, here's, for those who haven't seen it, this is what the inside of your door looks like. These wires are a little bit tight here, but I've just got it sitting on the door ledge, and here is what it looks like. I did a video before, but here's what it looks like for all the lever connections. So you can see on this one here, that is the inside door latch and how it pulls on the latch mechanism, and this is the outside door down here, and again it pulls on the door mechanism. And then this one here is for the key lock on the outside of the door. We never use it, we only use the deadbolt, but it's there. I previously had removed from here, this was the shaft latch that went up to the door latch. That's is the one that you're always warned about preventing from falling down and locking so that you can't get into your bus. So I just totally removed it in one of the times when I replaced the latch. And that's about it. Like I said, I did a previous video where I replaced the latching mechanism because the spring broke, but there were some other issues with it, just worn out, and I showed the fix that's on the Wanderlodge website. But I ultimately wound up buying a new one, and from Dan at Coach Parts, and installed it, and I have the original one as a spare. I just found a new spring for it that will do the job. But anyway, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to replace or put some more aluminum sheets in here, just some small fitted ones, and riv nut it for the door handle. But and well, I'll rivet in the new sheets and but install riv nuts for the screws for the, or the will be bolts now for the handle itself, just so it's nice and firm and tight and will never come loose again. Also, just as a point of interest, for taking off the door cover skin, the fabric part, I tried using one of these pillow things, and also these automotive panel removers. This I found doesn't work properly because it puts too much pressure on the Christmas tree's ability to hold itself in the hole, and the ends after 23 years tends to break, and so you have problems there. And then these, you can't really reach far enough without to get to the next one inside by it's too far. You don't have the reach to get your hand in there and sort of nicely work the Christmas tree out. And as I said, they're very brittle now, and they tend to just strip out anyway. So what I used with the wrecking bar to get started and reach in for a few inches, and then use the piece of wood to just get farther in there without stressing on the door itself, the door skin, seemed to work best for me. Just something to take note of here is on my coach anyway, that this and these holes here that I marked with the black dots are the holes for the bracket for my door handle. This is a hole for the Christmas tree, and in my case the door handle sits like this, with the opposite side being up here, but you can see that one hole completely doesn't fasten into any of the aluminum skin, and the bottom one just barely notches it there. So in reality, in the handle for in my case, totally relies on the screws going into the wood backing of the door. And once it starts to loosen up, you can see, I mean, the holes have been hogged out over time. I'm not the first one to have been in behind this door to fix it. So I had been trying to use some of these Gyprock screw fasteners, and they did work up to a point, but eventually, just with use, they loosen up and start pulling free, and eventually you have to do something like what I'm going to do. So a little bit of catch up here. I kind of forgot to take photos and narrate a little video as I was progressing. But anyway, what I've done here, we'd have to go back to some of the previous videos to see how it all was, but essentially the front handle of the door handle, the front mounting point, only was into something here on the metal. This was just empty space, and this was basically empty space. The holes kind of changed just a little bit here, but it matched up here, so the handle was only being held on through the wood, but it all got, over time, got loosened up and hogged out and so on and so forth. Same for the rear handle. So I made this plate. I'm going to put some riv nuts in. Let me grab one. A riv nut here, this is a hot rod tool that hot rod guys use, but it's like a rivet, but it has threads on the inside. So I'll hopefully line them up properly enough so I could put one, and one, and then just be able to screw the handle bracket into both of these positions properly. So anyway, and I've drilled an additional hole for the Christmas tree and an additional hole for the Christmas tree because hopefully I'm going to replace these. We already showed you about all the broken ones. Anyway, that's catching up right now. I've riveted this on, just 3 rivets, and I riveted this extra little piece on here just so it kind of filled the gap in behind this. Oh, sorry. I added this little piece of metal in behind just so, because there was a bit of a gap there, and I got a little bit OCD about it and wanted it to be a little bit more even. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like I say, I've just finished drilling the holes, so I'm going to drill them out a little bit bigger to fit the riv nut, and hopefully everything works properly. I'll try to remember to do this again. So of course, once again, I forgot to take photos as I was working and film as I'm working. But anyway, I'm kind of done. It turned out, this end turned out not too bad. But the problem at this end is the riv nuts, the squishable part wasn't deep enough to actually catch both pieces of metal. So you can see it's kind of free, and that's not, I was hoping that when I measured it, it looked like I'd have an 1/8 of an inch of, more than an 1/8 of an inch of squish, and it turns out it's not quite that way. So anyway, it will still work. I've test fit the handles and they will kind of work, but it's not ideal. If and when I take the door skin off again, then I will hopefully be able to source some riv nuts that have a longer blank space, squish space, so that I can drill these out and redo them and compress them all together. But the far end turned out to be not too bad. It's nice and tight for whatever reason. I did throw an extra rivet in and it pressed it in, and it seems like it did a not bad job. You can kind of see, maybe focus a little bit, how the threads kind of turned out down there in the squish. We'll see. Anyway, now it's just put everything back together again. Oh, I forgot. I was going to redo the little holes, 1, 2, 3, where the wood plate on the door covers the wires going through. And this is kind of Mickey Mouse here, the way it's been from the factory original. So I might even see about putting some different kind of terminals on here, and so that you can actually take these wires apart and take this whole wood panel off when you're doing work on it. But that's not for today. Not for today. Oh, and I forgot I was going to show, these are the door switches. One is going to be for the door lock when you start the bus, and the other one is for the step. And I had taken these off a couple years ago and cleaned them all out. It was the step was acting up, and so I took them both apart and kind of cleaned them and put a little bit dab of grease in them for the springs, and they work just fine now. So anyway, that's where those are, and then that's how you get to them. You take the door skin off. Can't think of anything else. That's it. Bye. This is a final video for my little project here. Didn't take any photos of the reinstallation of the door skin. It pretty much just kind of falls into place because so many of the Christmas trees are broken. But anyway, just give a little test. Like, that handle is rock solid now, so didn't quite line up great. I've got a couple little tufts there. Nothing's perfect, but there you go. It's all back in service, and happy to have that done.